When the devil came, he was not red. He was chrome, and he said, come with me. Come with me. You must go.
Welcome to the 109th Minute Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer. Welcome back for another week of talking about a team that isn't playing soccer yet. We're all very excited this week, especially because we are 1 week closer to actually having soccer to talk about. I do want to bring on producer John Cross because he is going to help me navigate these waters of non-soccer talk. John, what's up?
How are you doing, Andrew? It's good to be back for another week of non-soccer team podcast.
You know, it's great, and there is some kind of stuff to talk about with the team, but last week I was a little bit, I hadn't really gotten a lot of sleep, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be rambling or whatever. But then it happened again the night before the pod. I ended up staying up way later last night than I planned on, but it's a pretty big deal, I think, what I was able to do. So I'm just going to say that it was definitely worth it.
As I say, so tell me, what were you able to do?
Okay. Buckle up, okay? Because
all right,
this is like the full journey of like the dadness and like toxic masculinity and stuff, because I fixed something, John. I fixed something that was broken, and now it works. It was a painful process. My kid has a one of these pre-built gaming PCs, and
right.
So he plays on the locals Rocket League team, and we talked about this, I think, in the show where they had, his computer had crashed during a game, and he barely got back in there in time to get like a game-saving assist, and then he got a game-winning goal. It was very exciting. Well, it kept shutting down. This was a recurring issue from that moment. That was the first time it happened, was in that match. So, me being a former troubleshooter, former technician, not for computers, but electronics, I was like, okay, this is something that I can do. And well, it wasn't really something I could do, because it took quite a while, a lot of painful soul searching, a lot of Googling and reading Reddit threads, which, if you've ever looked up like PC problems, like there are so many things that can go wrong that it's very daunting, but I was able to, eliminate all of the software possibilities, going into like the bio screen, and like, I felt really like I'm one of those guys, just typing and hacking in like movies, I really felt like an advanced user, and I wasn't, but it turns out his CPU was overheating, and that was causing the shutdowns. I thought it might be something with it might need new thermal paste. That didn't fix it. But being the troubleshooter I am, and following the process of elimination, I identified the likely fault as the CPU cooler. I was able to order a new one, a better one, and came in yesterday. I went to install it, and the radiator was too big for the chassis, the box.
Yeah.
But because I am a problem solver, it took me about 5 extra hours, but I was able to reorganize the innards of like where the fans and stuff are inside the case. And he is right now on the computer playing happily. Our temperatures are way down. It did fix the problem. It was the problem. And after a probably, I would say, at least 10 working hours of work. Well, 10 working hours of troubleshooting, and then more like 6 more hours of actual like manual labor on the box.
Right.
It works. I fixed it. I did it. I did it. I'm ready to actually build a computer now. And now I'm realizing, you know what? This is actually easy, and I'm ready. I've got the build my PC website open right now in front of me, and I am specking out a build. I'm going to do it because I can. Now I know I can. I mean, I'm such a great like technician and troubleshooter. So really, my kid is super happy with me, which is great. And I fixed something, right? Like that's very rare. Like
Yeah.
one time I tried to fix our toilet, right? Like the water just kept going. I spent like 3 weekends, consecutive weekends, like replacing gaskets over and over, the same gasket, replacing the same gasket over and over again, taking the tank off. Let me tell you, it still ain't perfect. But I mean, that was one thing, but this thing is like definitely fixed and definitely working actually better than it had previously. So yeah, it's all good. That was
You're
my story. So
you're gonna take the win on this one.
absolutely. There's
Yeah.
so few of them. What have you been up to?
It's well, I have to say it's always nice when, as a dad, especially, or even someone around the house, when you go to fix something and you do get it fixed, regardless of how long it takes, rather than go the other route of making the problem worse and then eventually having to call someone in to fix the problem you made worse because you tried to fix it in the first place. So probably about 50-50 on those in my lifetime. And
Yeah.
again, take the wins when you can get them.
Yeah.
And learn to know when you need some help.
Yeah, I
'Cause it's
didn't want
actually
to hire
cheaper in the long
somebody.
run.
I did not want to call the Geek Squad. Like, no,
Right.
not that I bought the damn thing at Best Buy, but yeah, it was good. But yeah, we had a kind of a week of, well, there was one event, pseudo event, and another event that didn't happen because of the weather. Did you make it out to anything? Did you what have you been up to this week?
I did not. I had some family obligations this weekend, and it prevented me from attending the opening match with the Wave, which I know a bunch of people made it to. So shout out to everyone who was out there to be back in the stadium again to watch a match in weather. All right. But I did not make it out there and was going to do the Chrome Ball event on Sunday, and that didn't happen. And with the weather, I just kind of stayed home and took it easy and took care of some stuff around the house. So in terms of soccer, it was pretty light over the weekend.
So I did. So on Wednesday, there was the informal happy hour with Jerry Jimenez. He's the supporter liaison from SDFC, former SD Wave employee, former San Diego Sockers employee, former host of this podcast, and co-founder of the Locals. Just it's like a royal title, first of his name, the ruler of the Great Britain, King of Ireland, like it's like I have to undo the scroll and read all of Jerry's titles. But he did make an informal commitment to come onto the pod at some undetermined date in the future. Apparently, when you have a job like his, you have to be very careful and get like permission to do media appearances, which as unprofessional as we may be from their perspective, it would be a media appearance. So I told him we would be very gentle with him. So hopefully we'll get him on very soon, because I think it'd be super cool to talk with him about just what goes into building MLS supporter groups. He was involved in 3252 up at LAFC, and it's super insightful. And I think it'd be good for people to hear, that kind of just from somebody who's done it. Very interesting, because, for the most part, none of us have done that, done it on the USL level. Also met some folks. Of course, I'm going to blank on his name, but the the guy that is starting the military / first responder supporter group. He was out there, and I was like, I was a little bit, coming off our conversation on last week's pod, I was, a little skeptical, a little bit defensive about, I don't know what, it's not like any of us own anything, but, a little defensive. But, it turns out, like, of course, he's just another geeky soccer fan, like all of us. And, yeah, I think it's going to be fine. I don't think that there's going to be any like cultural clashes or value clashes among the other SGs. If you know, it doesn't sound like they're going to, be, any if there's some kind of social justice or type of statement that the other SGs want to make. It doesn't sound like they're going to be like, oh, we don't want to be a part of it. No, it was just like, maybe there's some things that we don't, go to, or maybe that's, we're not part of that specifically, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be any type of conflict or anything like that. So it's good to hear. He's he also has MLS SG experience, so that would be useful, I think, in the coming year. So I'm interested to see how that organization shakes out. It is a question of like commitment, because we do have service members in the supporters groups right now. Like, obviously none of the supporters groups are like military focused, but I mean, heck, we had a command master chief from a Pacific Fleet ship in the group for the whole last season, who was probably one of the most hardcore loyal supporters that we had. But it's and we do have other active duty folks and reservists, of course, in 109 last season. So, but one thing, the military community, I was once a part of that community. It is kind of isolating. It can be isolating, right? Because you don't have family maybe in San Diego. You don't have a network of friends. You didn't go to school here, right? Which is kind of how people, grow with social bonds. So sometimes you don't feel connected to a community, right? And this, I think, could be a good kind of entryway for people who, a lot of people get out of the military and want to stay here. When I did that, no family, all of my friends were in like the Navy. So after a couple of years, everybody transferred out. And then I was like, oh man, I don't have any friends anymore. So it can be difficult, I think, for, those first few years. But, looking at it that way, I think it's, could be a very good thing to bring in a whole other part of the community into a supporter culture.
Yeah, I think in general, everything I've heard so far, what you have added, the other groups, I think we're going to have a really good mix of people and different SGs representing various niches around our community. I'm looking forward to it. We have our next FO meeting tomorrow night. We're recording this always on a Tuesday, so on Wednesday night we'll do that, and hopefully we'll have some news to share. We don't always have news we can share. Some things get embargoed a little bit until the club makes an announcement, but hopefully we'll have some things we can share after that on our next podcast next week.
Awesome. That's good to hear. One thing that we did get around to talking about at the happy hour, it wasn't all just talk about that. We also started kind of doing the thing where you talk about possible players. People had been talking about the player announcement, right, and who are we going to bring in? So I really feel like, and it was a small group of people, I think a dozen people there at a time, but that's where things start, right? And there's already that kind of bubbling excitement about where things are going. So I've left feeling real good about the direction things are going and where we're going to be very quickly. I think it's not going to be much more time. I think this May 4th event, which we can roll into right now, is going to
Right.
be a huge milestone in this ramp up. So what's happening May 4th, John?
Well, just before we get quite there, we did have the one that was actually postponed from Sunday, the Carlsbad event, which
Yep.
should be happening sometime in April. So we don't know the date or the time or anything just yet, but they're trying to solidify what date that's going to be. It won't be the
It
weekend.
won't be May the
after
4th.
Easter.
It won't be May the 4th because
Well, right.
they're going to be in Chula Vista. So we can mark that
But-
date off on the Carlsbad day. But yeah, bummer. The rain. Wasn't too happy about it raining, but I was going to
But
actually go.
Sometime in April, they'll have that one. And then the one immediately after that is going to be the Chula Vista one. And as you said, that will be by all accounts and everything we're hearing, that is going to be the big event. I don't know if they're going to have a special announcement or anything else, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot revolving around that particular event, not only for SDFC, but with Chula Vista and just everything that's going on. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens there. I hope there's a big attendance at that particular event. And I think that will kick off really, I mean, May now is getting so close to summertime. And I think this lull in April is really gearing up for May, June, July, and a big summer push. And then after that, once we hit Labor Day and we get into the fall, I think everything's really targeted now to 2025. And it will be for us right around the corner. So I think everything will just start ramping up exponentially. It's been a pretty slow burn right now in this, winter, spring kind of area that we're in. I think we'll see it start to ramp up a little bit, but really explode as we, get to the end of the summer and into the fall. It'll start being crazy, which is why I'm glad we are doing a lot of things we're doing as an SG to get everything, get all the groundwork put together and all our frameworks that we need put together so that we can be in a good position to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and along those lines, I do have a little bit of news. I didn't see it on our list, but I do have it on good authority that the shirt order is in. The shirts are going to be available for folks very soon. I think the turnaround with this printer is going to be pretty quick. I don't think it's going to be too much of a wait.
Yeah, if you participated in the pre-sale for the sweatshirts and shirts, they've all been ordered. They're at the printer. We're waiting for the turnaround. And as soon as we get word that we have them, I mean, maybe by the April 20th, all SG event, the bonfire.
I think for sure. I think I can't remember exactly. I didn't write it down where I saw it, but I think we're talking a turnaround of a week. I don't think it's going to be very long at all for them to turn those over to us.
No, it should be pretty quickly, and I'm not sure where we are in the scarves. I don't know. Sometimes Lydia Brokoff is listening in. I don't know if she's in our chat right now. Maybe she can fill us in here live.
I think that's a little bit of a longer lead time, if I remember what Steve was saying last week.
I'm not sure where we are at the moment, if that order's been placed or not. But then that way, if it is, then we should know better sometimes and when the scarves will be coming in addition to, I guess, our scarf chains and the shirts and the sweatshirts. But all that should be rolling out here over the next couple of months. We'll have some things to wear, to get ready for some of these Chrome Ball Tour events and some of our other events. And I know there's the events team has some non-soccer type things in the works that they're trying to do. I know there's some talk of a bowling night possibility, maybe going to see a Mojo match, the volleyball team. Maybe going to see some other professional matches besides the soccers and and the wave, but some other things to get people together and do some things. And
I just want to
some happy hours.
Throw up the caution flag on bowling night. Listen. I know some of y'all out there have like 6 bowling balls. You got your spare ball, you got your power ball, you got, the rolly bag with all the balls and your Big Lebowski ball buffer. Leave all that at home, okay? Come to the lanes, use the house ball like everybody else, like a normal person. Don't be pulling out your power glove and all of that. You can powder your hands, you can hold them over the blower, but anything beyond that, you're doing too much. Okay, this ain't league night. You're not about to win the PBA. Um, just let's be normal. Let's be normal on bowling night. Okay.
I I don't know. There's some talk of doing a bowling team as well to compete in leagues. So
Hey,
maybe
league plays and hey,
qualifications.
that's another world. That's another world, buddy. I'm all for it. League play, you better have at least 6 balls if you're going to be on the league team. You better have the custom corked designer epoxied whatever. I bowled league when I was in 5th grade, so that's where my kind of awareness of bowling tech ends in the early 90s. So whatever it
Well,
is,
you are way above me. I think I bowled maybe a dozen times in my entire, nearly 60 years on this planet. So I enjoy it when I do it, but it's not a thing my family did very often. And we did it a handful of times. So probably about a dozen times in my life I've been.
it's one of those kind of niche pastime, like kind of one of those dying hobbies, right? Like there used to be many more bowling alleys. Bowling used to be a much more popular event. Really, I think 50s and 60s kind of baby boomers were, I think, had a much more frequent relationship with the bowling alley than later generations had. And I think there's like 2 bowling alley companies around right now. And yeah, I think I can think of one bowling alley that I know where it's even at, where there used to be just bowling alleys everywhere.
Yeah, for me, kind of a story. I grew up in Palm Springs. For those who don't know, went to high school there, and growing up in the desert in Palm Springs area, there's when you're a teenager, at least when I grew up there, there's not a lot of things to do, and especially when summer rolls around. So, I mean, you would find indoor things in the summer to do because it's so freaking hot. So we'd go to the bowling alley, but this is, early 80s, so we'd go for the arcade. We wouldn't go bowling, but we'd go for the air conditioning and hang out in the arcade. So you went to the mall, you went to the bowling alley, you went to the movie theater. That's what you did during the daytime to stay out of the heat. But that gets pretty old pretty fast when you're
Yeah.
when you're a teenager in a place that's 115 during the day in July.
You said something about that kind of sparked something in me. So my dad used to bowl like league. He was like a league bowler, and he would bring me with him because he wouldn't want to leave me home alone or whatever. And so, but I wasn't bowling. He was bowling, and he'd give me, okay, this is the 1980s, right? He would give me $1, to play video games. Now this is a 2-hour league game. How far does 4 quarters get you? I used to get in so much trouble for playing around in the bathroom. They had to call him on the PA, come and get your kids out of the bathroom. I used to get in trouble, but they, in the little arcade area, they had pinball machines. And one of them, and this is, I don't know how, this was the 80s, it was a more dangerous time, but there was a short. And if you put your hand on the frame of that pinball machine and touched another one, like it would shock the shit out of you. And so we used to, when you run out of quarters, you kind of got to play with the live. You got to play with the shorted machine and zap your friends and have contests to see who can hang on and
Longest.
get shocked for the longest. Yeah. Bowling alleys, man, there's not going to be another place like them once they're all gone.
That's true. I don't know where we go from here with the podcast now.
Well, we can steer it back to soccer if you like. I know we do have wave matches coming up. I think there's a home match this weekend. There's also some other soccer coming to San Diego this summer that we can talk about. Friday night, right? There's a wave match.
Friday night wave match, which also means because of that, that there will not be a drum circle. Now, the drum circles originally were going to go every Friday, but as you know, I think that was a thing everybody said, yeah, let's just show up every Friday, whoever can show up. But as we're, learning very quickly as we get into the all the teams that use Snapdragon and the different days people play and concert events and everything else, that certain days, Fridays especially, you're not going to be able to be there because the parking lot's going to be reserved for parking. So you won't be able to get into the trolley area unless you take the trolley. So pay attention to socials and Discord for when those drum circles are going to be. So because of the wave match, there will not be a drum circle this Friday. And I'm not sure when they will be in the month of April. So they're probably going to shoot for a couple Fridays a month, but it's going to be hit and miss because we're going to have to work around events.
A little bit of information on this. I was talking to some guys from the Chavos at the happy hour, and I think instead of the every Friday or every other Friday at Snapdragon, they're going to move to, I think, okay, well, maybe I don't know anything. I was going to say either a weeknight or a weekend, which I think that's all the only options we have. So one of those two, ladies and gentlemen, weeknights or weekends at Balboa Park. It is going to move
a day
to the
that
park.
Ends in Y.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's going to be every couple of weeks or maybe even just once a month. But that will be kind of the formalized practice, right, for percussion and for chants leading up to the season. It's going to be really important for people who are not just the people who are playing drums or capoing, but people who want to participate in what happens in the supporter section. You got to learn these chants. You got to learn them. I mean, they're going to be bilingual. Some of them will be in Spanish, and the others will be in English. And you don't have
some will be a mix.
You don't have to speak Spanish to do a chant in Spanish. Just know that none of the lyrics are offensive. You're not. None of them are like satanic incantations. Nothing bad is going to happen. You can trust the chant writers that it is all just done in support of the community and the team, and you don't have to understand it to say it. So learn the chants, especially the Spanish ones, because I think they always just sound so cool, especially when we get the whole section going. And to do that, you've got to make some of these practices. I think, of course, like everything that we talk about, as we get closer, I think, we'll start seeing more people show up. But it's going to be important because that very first match, we only get one first match ever. We only get one first home match ever. And I think everybody, no matter what their intentions are, regarding supporters groups and all of this, we can all agree that we want that first home match to be an absolute moment. We want to really show what this community can come together and do in a supporter section. And that only happens if people know the words to the chants.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure, as you said, as we get closer, we're going to get more people to these things. And part of these early, I guess, moments of establishing the practice and the drum circles, also to work out some of our internal logistics and kinks that we're not trying to figure this out in October or November, because then you're really pushing up to the start of the season and it gets more difficult. So, and I know people are busy and it's going to be difficult to come to everything that might be happening right now. And it's hard. maybe to get excited about some things because there is no team, or maybe people have certain reservations about, MLS as an entity and a structure. Um, but I think over time, as we start getting the group together, I know a lot of people who were at the Wave match. I heard a lot of comments from people, privately in my conversations, and just like it was just nice to be back with the group again, even though it wasn't the loyal, but it's just getting back to some of the same people and participating and being at a match. And then thinking ahead to what it's going to be like in February of 2025 when we do have our first home match at Snapdragon.
So the you mentioned the some of the other events coming up. I know we got derailed with bowling, and I hate to jar the audience by very unsmoothly transiting the conversation back to that topic. But some of the other events that we forgot to mention was the tentatively planned April 20th bonfire. That is the all supporter group family bonfire. Maybe the reservation hasn't happened yet, but that's April 20th. If you want to go and hang out with other supporters and hang out with Jerry Jimenez, there is another happy hour coming up. I think this one's going to be at Border X.
It's going to be at Border X, and I actually have the time wrong on our rundown. They have shifted it to 5 to 7. I saw that today, and I think partly because the FO meeting tomorrow night for all the SGs is going to start at 7 o'clock. So normally those happy hours were going from 6 to 8. So I think they made an adjustment.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
That's at Border X.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
And yeah, so I was going to say, if you're watching live tonight or you listen to this early on Wednesday, that is happening on Wednesday, March 27th, that happy hour at Border X.
Yeah, and if you're waiting till Thursday to watch the stream or listen to the pod, shame on you, okay? This is a lesson for you. You missed the happy hour. Jerry is buying the beers, and you missed it because you don't download and listen, like and subscribe to the Locals podcast until 2 days after the fact. So
that's right. We have been given word that we should expect these happy hours to continue around the county on Mondays and Wednesdays through April. Not necessarily every Monday and Wednesday, but we've been told Mondays and Wednesdays, but I haven't heard any others be planned yet. So maybe tomorrow night at the FO meeting, we'll hear some news about some new ones that are planned and locations around the county for some of these next happy hours. But they will be, or at least the plans are, that they will be Mondays or Wednesdays or both during the week, but at different places around the county.
Yeah, I think they run the risk, right, of if it's the same 12 people showing up every week, where the club is just kind of supporting the midweek drinking habits of a handful of supporters.
Habit of a dozen people.
Hey, it's the same 12 people.
Part of that dozen.
We had at the last happy hour. I'm noticing a pattern here. I don't know. There's only been one so far, so maybe it will be. I'm sure it will be different people, but that would be funny.
And then I'd just like to give a quick congratulations, a shout out to our Rocket League team that finished their season, their first season up in Division 1. They finished 6-3 overall, which was tied for third, but on a tiebreaker.
Fourth place.
Emerald City RC, just edged them out on the tiebreaker and actually takes third. So we officially finished fourth, and they're getting ready to start the Supporters Gaming League Cup next week. And I believe the Locals will face Los Verdes again to kick off the cup, and they'll do the cup in which is popular in esports, a Swiss format style, which if you're not familiar with that, at least I don't know which version they're going to do, but in the early stages, at least it's a non-elimination tournament for the first few rounds, and usually gives you a chance to compete with people who are close to your level. to kind of sort out some things. And then I don't know if there's eventually elimination by the end, but at least it'll start out with a Swiss stage for the Cup.
The good
But we
news
should get
is
streaming information on that next week.
good news is one of the players on the team now has a fully functioning gaming rig that is now working better than
Will
ever.
not overheat.
Better than ever. Better than before. So let's just say I'm putting the whole league on notice right here, right now.
All right. And then for our pub quiz team, got a note last week. So I don't know. They usually compete on Tuesday nights, but out of roughly 700 teams across the county, so if you're not aware of the big pub quiz circuit that happens in the county, there is quite a large one that goes on. But out of about 700 teams, our locals team is current, at least as of last week, was ranked 4th out of those 700 teams. So good luck to them as they continue in their quest to maybe bring home a pub quiz title.
All right. Well, I think that might be it for the week. Happy hour coming up. If you're not in the Discord, please get in there for the latest coming out of this meeting tomorrow. I know there's some folks that like to use Facebook, but none of them are the people that like to post updates from the SG. So hop in the Discord and see what's going on. All right, John, thanks so much. Do you have any last words for everybody?
I do not. If you need to get a hold of me at all, you can reach me on Discord at John Cross. But as Andrew said, Discord is the best place to check for information, especially last minute information, because sometimes we give out things on the podcast and we have the right information at the time, but it could also change. So always double check in Discord just to see if there's been any last minute updates.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We'll be back next week. Until then, bye all.
All right. Sorry. I will say bye one more time because I was slow on the controls here. So
Oh my
go.
goodness.
Bye, everyone.